I want to open up with a little piece here from my book. So Tim Mays called me about doing the 30th anniversary with the Penetrators, and of course I said yes.
I got merch. Gary's book, his poster, and these guys, phenomenal.
The rest of the Penetrators, they had to work with Tim to get the right day that they could actually do it before we could book it. As soon as it was announced, it sold out within 10 days.
Gary Heffern, friend of ours since we were kids at Ocean Beach, Point Loma High School. We're all proud of him.
Nice.
So I live in Rovaniemi, Finland, right at the Arctic Circle. It was minus 23 degrees the day I left. I heard this morning that it went to an all-time low of minus 37. I live like 20 kilometers to the nearest store. I'll go down to Helsinki every now and then. My name is Gary Heffern. I'm a writer, a singer. Some people think of me as a poet. I think of myself as kind of a cross between a loser and a lover.
I saw the Penetrators for the first time at Glorietta Bay Women's Club in Coronado in probably 1979 or 80. There was probably about 100 people there and everybody was going nuts. The band was amazing. I'd never seen anything like it. They had a big song on KGB at the time, I think. It was Fifth and Bop or Sensitive Boy or something. It was getting a lot of airplay.
Gary is the closest extension I have to kind of like who I am. He's just got the biggest heart. I can't imagine him not sharing his poetry and his music.
I've known Gary since about 1980. He was the lead singer for the Penetrators, and I was an 18-year-old kid who was in a band called the Ideals. And Gary was always real kind, nice to the younger musicians.
I then ran into Gary at the Hollywood Palladium at a show with 2020 and the Zippers, recognized him coming out of the bathroom and struck up a conversation with him. I got to know him over the next year or two, and at a certain point after Country Dick moved out of my garage, Gary moved into my garage in Normal Heights and lived there for maybe a year and a half. He started getting into poetry, he started doing spoken word, and then he decided to up and move to Seattle.
I was in a band called Monotone the Nucleoids first, and then into the Penetrators, and then I moved up to Seattle.
I was his best critic. I used to give him crap about his singing, which made him do better. Love the Penetrators.
Peter Buck from R.E.M. would sit in with us. Like Barrett Martin from Screaming Trees. Mark Lanegan came and sang a duet with me. Eddie Vedder sang with me. All these big cats. I sat in with Bill Frisell at the Temporary Jazz Festival. We did a piece of mine. I played with Mudhoney in Helsinki. That was fun.
So what do you want to do tonight, Mark?
Well, Gary.
It's time to kick out the jam!
So I've been writing songs for other people, like Andrea Schroeder in Germany. I wrote a song called Blackberry Wine for her, and it was like a kind of a hit. I was like the old guy in Seattle. You have to understand, in Seattle, I was 35, I think, when I moved up there. So I'd already had like 9 years with the Penetrators. In 79 to 80, no, 79 to 84, so six years. And so when I moved up to Seattle, it was the same thing as, you know, when the punk scene started happening here. It was the same 40 people. I mean, it was like Mark Harm, Chris Cornell, Love Battery guys, all of the whole beginnings of grunge. And they were playing to 40 people a night, just like we did way back at the Skeleton Club.
We were there when they did their first show. They played in a clubhouse of a condo complex called Sea Colony. It was pretty funny, maybe 15, 16 people in the audience. I gotta say, we were impressed. We were at the first show. We're proud to be here tonight.
The Last Waltz.
In '83, we went to the US Festival up in Glen Helen. And there was a 3-day festival. The Clash played one night, Bowie played another night, and then there was sandwiched in between those two, there was a heavy metal night with Ozzy Osbourne and Judas Priest. Gary had a little Volkswagen camper shell pickup then, and we drove up in his car, and we went to the local Big Bear Market to buy some supplies for the weekend, and they had Pabst Blue Ribbon on special for like, I don't know, it was like $5 a case or something ridiculous. And so Gary got this bright idea that like, let's buy 25 cases of beer, we'll put them in the back of the pickup with a bunch of ice and turn it into a big ice chest and sell beer in the parking lot where we're camping. So we get up there early, whatever, Friday morning I think it is, and it's roasting hot up there, and we had dumped a bunch of ice in with all this beer, and it's just sitting back there. We sold them for $1 a can. We just drive around the parking lot selling beer, and we probably made $400 or $500, which paid for our whole weekend. You know, that was the kind of things Gary and I got up to.
We got lucky. The Penetrators got lucky. We're like a machine, you know. It's just like automatically, every time I see them, it's just like we just seen each other yesterday. The first hour is kind of sitting around, chatting and figuring out what we want to do, what we don't want to do. And the second hour after that, it's like, you know, we're just working and we're sweating. Chris Davies, guitar. I think he's one of the most original guitarists I've ever heard. But I went to his house and I said, you know, here's the deal. So we have an offer to open for the Ramones. It's in 2 weeks. Do you want to do the show? And he goes, yeah. Well, actually, I know all your songs because I've been practicing them and I've been taping you. And I was like, oh my God. I said, well, so let's do some new songs. And we sat there that first day and we wrote Sensitive Boy. I mean, we wrote like 5 songs within, you know, 2 hours. Sullivan on bass is a monster. He's playing with Farmers. I'm really, really glad that him and Joel Kamak, who's originally, he was actually in the Penetrators before I was in the Penetrators. So then he came back and he joined us after Dan started the Beat Farmers. And Jim Carroll.
This is the only guy who was wearing frickin' long leather pants standing up on top of the cliff looking at the surf. And we're all down there surfing, but he had his own thing going, and we've always followed him for a long time. Gary's still like he's a frickin' young punk.
Yeah, man.
Love him.
Yeah. Bring it on, Gary.
You know, I was like a huge Tom Waits fan, even from the very first album and stuff. And he made me aware of like going downtown and, you know, like checking out like the dirtier, seedier parts of downtown. So I'd take a bus downtown and I would just sit there and I would just write about all these people. And that's what this piece that we're doing tonight, it's called Desperation Row, is about. And I think it's one of the best things I've ever written. And, you know, full circle, I actually ended up meeting Tom and, you know, sitting with him. We had a 6-pack of beer, smoked a bunch of cigarettes together. I was the only person in line for his show at San Diego State for the Nighthawks at the Diner show. And then he offered to take me out to dinner, and I said, well, nah, I don't want to lose my place in line. But I gave him like all my writings. I said, I'm never going to be in a band, you know. And he's like, well, you sure you want to give me these? And I was like, yeah. Well, okay. So then he went off to dinner, and his band came out, and they were called the Nocturnal Emissions. And they start doing this thing. And he comes out and he's wearing this jacket, and he's got like, I can see my lyrics because they're from one of those bindle folders, right? And they're like hanging out of his jacket. And he comes walking out, and the band's like, you know, doing the bop thing, and he walks out like this, and he looks at me and he points at me and he comes walking out to me, and I'm sitting there with all my friends, and just told my friends, I actually fucking got to meet Tom Waits. I gave him these lyrics, and they were like, oh, you're so full of shit, you know? And he walks out to where I'm sitting, he comes over to me, and he goes, son, I just want to shake your hand. I think you ought to keep doing this, you know? There's some good stuff in there. And so I was like, and then the next day I saw him on the Dinah Shore show, and he still was wearing the same suit, and he still had the lyrics in there. So in '96, I was playing South by Southwest, and I was walking through a hotel lobby at the Driscoll Hotel, and he was getting ready to do his first show in 10 years there at the I think Fox Theater for the South by Southwest. And he came up to me, and he I went up to him and I told him that story, and then I gave him my CD, and you know he knew, like, you know, like with the CD he has like Eddie Vedder and Peter Buck and Victoria Williams. Victoria had just toured with his backing band and stuff on it, and so I told him the story, and he was like a proud father, and he was like just looking at me, and he just gave me this grin, and he was like, so this is you? Oh man, that's so cool. This is so cool. Yeah, man. You know, this is called Desperation Row. I think it's kind of needed for the times that we're living in right now. So listen to the words. The sleepy city awakens, and the young visionary's dreams come true. And he gazes the stranger's eyes as he peers through you, where the brash and the brazen, the holy and the unwholesome, they all stumble into the throwaway zone to call Desperation Row their home. And I know there's something out there. I can just feel it in my bones. Yeah, I'm drunk and I'm swaggering. I'm damn close to staggering here on Desperation Row. Got in a car accident right after the last show I did here. So I came home from the Casbah's 25th anniversary, and I played with my band, you know, with the Penetrators, and then also with a lot of the people that are playing with me tonight, opening for X as well, and we did the Penetrators, and so I did like 3 different bands in 3 weeks. And then I flew home. It was 30 below, it was ice, and I went head on 80 kilometers an hour into another car, and I was going downhill, he was coming uphill, and same speed, and I just was gliding into him, and I can still remember the guy's face just looking at me going, ah, you know, in slow motion. You know, like my back goes out on me, and, you know, especially during the winters, if you don't have the, you know, the claws on the bottom of your feet, you know, for the ice, you know, you're slipping and sliding all the time, and I have dogs, so they're in and out, and I have days where I just can't do anything, you know, I just flat on my back.
I came down here from LA today because I want to, you know, be here for Gary in this moment. Gary means a lot to the people that whose musical lives he's touched. I had to be here. I came down last week for the Penetrators show, and I wanted to be part of this celebration. I hope it's not his last show, Gary, but that's what he says, and if it's going to be the Last Waltz, I got to be here.
He did a show for our 20-year anniversary like 10 years ago. Penetrators got back together, and then his most recent shows here in January, where he did the big Penetrator show, and then his own band show.
I kind of didn't really tell anybody that these were going to be my last shows until I probably came here. I probably caught them off guard, and maybe they were like going, oh my God. It's like writing a song, you know. You know when you have to sit down and you have to put the pen to paper. You know when to put the pen down. You know when to when to pick it back up, and you know, it's a growing process, but you also have to learn when to just kind of you know, put the pin in a drawer. And that is my whole message about tonight. I'm going to be singing songs about, you know, friends of mine that have died, a song I wrote when Kurt Cobain killed himself, a song I wrote the night that Mia Zapata from the Gits was found, murdered and raped up in Seattle, and you know, I wrote it at the Comet Tavern, and I was there with the people from 7 Year Bitch and Hammerbox and the Gits, and we have to go back to who we were when we were kids, and we have to learn about innocence and truth and honesty. And we're going gospel. Michael Schuler. So when I decided to do the show, I wanted to have Ford Maddox Ford, which is Chip Kinman's band. And then it was like a couple days later, he wrote me back and goes, you know what, Gary, just for you, I'll do the Dills. I was like, can I post that? You know, and he's like, yeah. And then it caught like wildfire. I mean, the Variety magazine wrote about, you know, the Dills, him doing the Dill songs. And I've got Lee Berryhill. She's playing throughout the whole set. Ray Brandis from Telltale Hearts. Victor Penalosa from Flaming Groovies, Zeros. Dave Fleminger, who has played with just about everybody. David Doyle from The Unknowns. And Kevin J. Ring from Manual Scan.
The two shows he did here in January were both really great. I mean, the Penetrators show was fantastic. They killed it. I mean, packed house. The Last Waltz show with all those other musicians on stage was amazing as well.
Oh, my soul, oh, my beautiful people.
Gary's always been a real emotional performer. Heart on his sleeve kind of guy. Very introspective with his lyrics. The band he assembled and the songs they did and that ending they did was just amazing, mind-blowing. I haven't resigned myself to the fact that he will never perform again. You know, at some point maybe we can coax him back over here one more time. I don't know.
After this, I'm going into a hotel for a couple days. I'm going to get my head together and hopefully maybe see some music, see some old friends, and then I fly back next week. And it's going to be back to the freezing cold, and I'll have, you know, hopefully warm memories of tonight. I'm flying back to Rovaniemi, to Finland, to my dogs.
Best I can do is say goodbye. You give me something to look at. Well, I think you're right, and that's a reason to call you, unless I lost my mind. And you're so inquisitive, why don't you call me sometime? Well, that's such a silly question, because I'm not your kind. I'm a sensitive boy, agitated boy. I go a little crazy now and then. I feel a bit suspicious now and then. I'm a sensitive boy. You think that I should call you, hang out with your friends? It's an awful situation, I got no time to lend. You ask me if I love you, what love can I find? Oh, that's such a silly question, because I'm not your kind now. I'm a sensitive boy.
Hi, Gary. Rest up. We're going to be back in a couple years.
I love you all. This is a song about love.